Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the DFO Fantasy Show. It is Monday, October 20th. I hope you all had a fine weekend. We are starting week 3 of the fantasy hockey season today, so we are going to take a look ahead at week 3, the strength of schedule, some streaming candidates for you to pick up, and hopefully win you some in another week. Obviously, if you listen to last Thursday's show, the weekend streaming edition, where we recommended picking up some of the Utah Mammoth players, specifically Nick Schmaltz, hopefully you were able to secure a victory last week, and we can carry that momentum into week 3. But before we get to the strength of schedule and the streaming targets, let's get into the news and notes for October 20th. Some updates from the weekend, and we will start with Shane Gostisbehere from the Carolina Hurricanes, who's been off to just a tremendous start to the season. He left Saturday's game versus the Kings and did not return. Rod Brindamore said that he tweaked something, but didn't really offer much else post-game. So they do play tonight. They play on Monday. So we should get an update tonight ahead of their matchup against the Vegas Golden Knights. That'll come this afternoon as it's in Vegas. But if Gostisbehere is to miss any time, it was Keandre Miller who slid onto the top power play unit after he left that game. So keep an eye on that if Gostisbehere can't go. Keandre Miller, a bit of an interesting pickup in fantasy. And then next, Philip Hedl exited Sunday's game versus Washington after this hit.
And that is a terrible hit by Tom Wilson.
Yeah, that's got to be a major for sure.
Brutal hit from Tom Wilson. And then obviously, given Hedl's concussion history, it's concerning for him. So hopefully nothing serious. We should get an update on Hedl's status. But the Canucks are already banged up. Brock Besser missed that game already with personal reasons. And then Jonathan Leckmermacki and Teddy Bluger also left with injuries, meaning they could be down 4 forwards. Vancouver could be very shorthanded heading into Tuesday's game in Pittsburgh. And the last bit of news is the Detroit Red Wings' Patrick Kane missed Sunday's game with an upper body injury. The good news for them is they got Lucas Raymond back. But right now, Patrick Kane is listed as day-to-day and considered questionable for Wednesday's game. He took a really hard collision in overtime on Friday. So we'll see what Patrick Kane's status is as this week progresses. Now, let's get to Brock's lock of the day. We are on a 2-0 roll to start the season. Hopefully, we can make it 3 in a row. The Brock's lock of the day is presented to you by our friends at 5v5 Hockey. They've got a great prop model. We're looking at shot props here, but you can go to assist, points, blocks, anything you're looking for. Great AI model. Right now, they're offering a 7-day free trial. So we're going to go down the board a little bit today. We're going to go to Mika Zibanejad, who you can see with a score of 88 for our prop of the day. As you see here, Mika Zibanejad, the prop tonight is 2.5 shots on goal at -145. So we're taking the over on Zibanejad, 2.5 shots on goal. Zibanejad has been playing monster minutes for the Rangers this season, averaging over 21 minutes per game since Vincent Trocheck got hurt. He's also been firing everything at the net. He's averaging 3.9 shots on goal and 6.1 shot attempts per game. Tonight, he faces a Wild team that is giving up the 9th most shots on goal and the 13th most shot attempts this season, giving him a great opportunity to get to 3 shots on goal and take Brock's lock to 3-0 on the season. So our lock tonight is Mika Zibanejad over 2.5 shots on goal at -145. Now let's take a look at the strength of schedule and the weekend streaming. If you prefer to read some of this stuff, you can I outline the entire strength of schedule and streaming candidates on the Daily Faceoff website every single Monday morning. So we've got the strength of schedule in there, all of my favorite picks of the week, but I'm not going to spoil those. Let's take a look at the strength of schedule. If you're unfamiliar with it, strength of schedule basically combines the number of games that each team plays, also their opponent rating. So the higher the opponent rating, the better. It means the worse defensively the teams they're playing against are. And then light nights are obviously important, right? You want to pick up and stream players that are playing on games where, or on nights where other teams aren't playing, right? So you see here on the strength of schedule tool, the light nights are in red. It's games or days where there are less than 8 games. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Those are your typical light nights. It changes some weeks, but those are the typical light nights. So as you see here, strength of schedule combines all 3 of those metrics to give you, your best teams to target this week. The beautiful thing, if you haven't used the strength of schedule tool yet, it updates as the week progresses. So once Monday's over and we head to Tuesday, you're going to get a brand new strength of schedule tomorrow. So if you don't, pick anybody up today, you can plan to pick up somebody tomorrow for the rest of the week, and the strength of schedule will update. If you're just finding out about this tool, all you got to do is go to a regular weekly schedule tool, click strength of schedule, and then you'll be brought here. Let's start with the number 1 team of the week. We've got the Buffalo Sabres with the best strength of schedule this week, and really by far and away my favorite team to target this week. So when you take a look at the Sabres, they've got a number of options, plus obviously a really, good weekly schedule with 3 late nights. They got the Canadiens, the Maple Leafs, the Red Wings, then the Maple Leafs twice. So they're definitely my favorite. They've got a host of good players to target this week as we pull up their line combinations. So we'll start with Zach Benson. Benson missed the first few games of the season with an upper body injury, but has been on fire since rejoining the lineup. He recorded 4 assists in his season debut and added another in his second game. The 20-year-old is seeing a significantly expanded role this season compared to what he played in his first 2 seasons, as he's currently skating, as you see here, on the top line with Yuri Kulik and Tage Thompson, and he's also on the top power play unit. So really, really good usage right now, averaging over 17 and a half minutes per game. With that kind of usage, I really think Benson could be headed for not only a good streaming week this week, but a third-year breakout and somebody that could be more than a streaming option moving forward. The next name we're going to talk about is Josh Doan, son of Shane Doan, currently 10% rostered in Yahoo formats. Doan is one of the key pieces that the Sabres acquired in the JJ Peterka trade this summer, and he's made an immediate impact in Buffalo. After starting the season on the third line and second power play unit, Doan has already earned a promotion into the top 6 and the top power play unit. He's picked up 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists in his last 2 games, and is generating elite shot volume, ranking second in the NHL in shots on goal per 60 with 14.6, and that's among players with at least 70 minutes played so far this year. He's also contributing 1.4 hits per game, adding a little extra value if you're in extended formats, some banger formats as well. So Josh Doan, been on a bit of a heater the last couple of games. He's also on the top power play unit. So really interesting streaming candidate there. Jason Zucker, Yuri Kulik are kind of the lower end pickups here. Jason Zucker is kind of just the prototypical streaming option. Not a guy that's going to, carve out a massive role on your team moving forward, but he's been off to a nice start, offers a little bit of, extended category coverage as well, 2.6 shots on goal, 1 point hits per game. So offers a bit of a steady floor. We know that he can chip in offensively. I mean, over his last 78 games, so this is last season and this season combined in a Sabres uniform, he's produced 24 goals and 33 assists for 57 points. So a dependable plug and play option there. And then Yuri Kulik, he's a guy that has a really great shot, but he's a bit of a risky streamer because he was almost scratched a couple games ago. Now he finds his way back onto the top line. So you don't really know where he's going to play. He could be out of the lineup, but he is, playing back on a line with Tage Thompson and Zach Benson. And that was a line that was really good together for the start of this year and last year, averaging 3.03 expected goals for per 60. So with his shot, this is a guy that's already second on the team in individual expected goals this year. So the puck should start going in for him if he continues to create chances as he has. Let's go back to the strength of schedule now, where the New Jersey Devils have the number 2 ranked schedule this week. We will pull up their line combinations now. This team, really doesn't have a lot of great options for streaming. I think Dawson Mercer is really the only one you can strongly consider right now. He's had a strong offensive start with 3 goals and 2 assists through his first 5 games. That said, he's been very fortunate to get there. He's shooting 37.5%. The shot volume isn't great and has an on-ice shooting percentage of 22.7%. Still, he is skating on the second line with Nico Hischier and Timo Meier, and he's also on the top power play. So the opportunity is certainly there for Mercer, and even if some regression is coming his way, it might not hit this week. He might be able to get one more really good week out of him. I think he's a solid short-term option, but obviously not somebody that's got long-term value. And then I'm going to bring up Arseny Griciuk for the third line here. He's also on the second power play unit. He is a very, very talented young player. He's 24 years old from Russia. He had 44 points in 49 KHL games last year. So there's clear offensive potential here. He just kind of needs to settle in at the NHL level and expand that role. He's not really playing enough ice time right now. He's around 13 and a half minutes a night. So he's a tough sell as a streaming candidate with that usage. But according to Sports Logic, Griciuk ranks 4th on the Devils in offensive generating plays per 60. So offense generating plays are like carries to the slot or passes that lead to a shot from the slot. Generating offense, whether it's doing it yourself or making a pass, he is trailing only Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, and Jesper Bratt on the Devils. So the very encouraging signs there from Griciuk. We'll see if the role expands. Short-term deep league option right now. But if the role expands, I think he's a name worth keeping an eye on. He's very, very talented. Let's get to number 3. We've got the Minnesota Wild. They got the 3rd ranked strength of schedule this week, 3 late night games as well. They start with the Rangers, and they got the Devils, the Mammoth, and the Sharks to close out the week. So obviously playing against the Sharks to end the week should be very beneficial. The problem with the Wild is they just are not doing anything at 5v5. And this week's strength of schedule and your streaming targets have, outside of Buffalo and New Jersey for the most part, the rest of them are pretty bad offensively, and it makes streaming very difficult this week. But the problem with the Wild is there's no 5v5 offense, so almost everything is coming from their league-leading power play right now, which means their offense is heavily concentrated to just a few key players, which makes them very difficult to stream. So we'll start with Marco Rossi just because, he has offensive ability. He has shown it in the past. The problem is when he's not skating with Kaprizov and Boldy, there's just really no reason to stream him. And he's not, as of their last game, skating with them. So we'll see where the lines shake out as the week goes on, but or at least tonight going into New York. If he's not on the top line, I'm probably not streaming him. It's really no surprise that his 5v5 expected goals for per 60s drops from over 3 to just 2.5 without Boldy and Kaprizov. So obviously, moving away from those two stars is not going to be beneficial to anybody. But with no 5v5 secondary scoring here, it's really not worth it to stream him on the second line. So I'm basically only looking at players that are on that top power play unit right now while this 5v5 offense is just as putrid as it's been. That leads us to Vladimir Tarasenko, who is on that top power play unit. And he's been off to a decent start. He's got 5 points in 5 games, or in his last 5 games. All 4 of his assists during that time have come on the power play. The problem is, going back to offensive generating plays from Sports Logic, is he is 5th out of 5 on that top unit in that category, which means he is clearly not the focal point for that group, which isn't surprising when you factor in that unit can, has Kirill Kaprizov, has Matt Boldy, has Zibanejad. So Tarasenko could chip in this week without question, and is valuable in as a streaming option, especially in leagues that count power play points as a bonus point or as a category, a standalone. So, his value is entirely dependent on the power play right now, the way that this 5v5 offense has gone this year. So I don't love him. Like, I much prefer the Buffalo Sabres streamers this week to the Minnesota Wild, but I think Tarasenko is an okay option. And then in extended formats, I think you could also look at Ryan Hartman, who's currently on the third line. Without top power play deployment, obviously not an elite option here, right? But he does have peripheral production that makes him worth a look in certain formats. He's averaging 5.2 shot attempts, 3.3 shots on goal so far this season, and he also averages over a hit per game throughout his career. So he provides a decent floor in deeper extended formats. He's chipped in a little bit offensively. He's got 2 goals in 6 games. So I think he's a serviceable short-term ad, but really not one that I'm overly excited about. Let's go back to the strength of schedule. We have the Winnipeg Jets up next. So obviously the Sharks and Oilers come in next, but with only 2 and 1 late night games, they're really not great streamers this week. So we'll focus now on the Winnipeg Jets, which, very similar to the Minnesota Wild, their offense has been extremely underwhelming, and most of their production is also coming entirely from the power play. As a result, there's just not a lot of viable streaming options from Winnipeg. To be completely honest with you, I'm almost overlooking the Jets entirely this week. They just don't have enough quality options that are low owned. The one player, or the one, I guess, exception is Nino Niederreiter in extended formats only. He's off to a nice start. He's got 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists in 5 games, while averaging 2.4 shots and 2.0 hits per game. So really nice floor in those extended formats. He doesn't offer a ton of offensive upside, but as you know, he's at a point per game, as I just mentioned. So he can provide a little bit of offense. He's just a guy that's carved out a really steady role in this Jets middle six over the last few years. Also on power play too. He's got reliable category coverage, so I think he's worth a look in those formats. The other 2 names I'm going to throw out there are Jonathan Toews and Alex Iafallo. Toews is coming off a 2-assist performance versus Nashville on Saturday. It was his first multi-point performance since January 19th, 2023. So the question really is now whether that's just a feel-good story, right? Like, oh, good job for Jonathan Toews, really kind of getting back into the groove of things, or a sign of things to come. I think it's more the former right now. His underlying metrics so far are abysmal, not encouraging at all. 37% Corsi for is horrendous, and he's an on-ice expected goals for per 60 of just 1.6, which is also awful. Just really not a lot happening when that line's on the ice right now. They're not giving up a ton, but they're also not really generating anything at all. So I think he needs a little bit more time to get back up to speed. He obviously missed a lot of time. He needs to get back up to speed before he becomes a reliable deep league stream. If you're somebody who just really likes Jonathan Toews and thinks that 2-assist performance the other night is a springboard of something more to come in the future, then go ahead and stream Jonathan Toews. I prefer Iafallo. Like I said, with the offense being almost purely tied to this top power play unit, he is on that top power play unit, and he can contribute a little bit. I still think with Iafallo, as we know over the past few years, the offensive upside is somewhat limited, but he has picked up 3 power play points, a goal, and 2 assists in 5 games on that top unit. So he's replaced Cole Perfetti, who's not expected to be back anytime soon. I think Iafallo's spot on that top power play unit is pretty safe. So if the Jets offense continues to roll through the power play, I think Iafallo offers some value this week as a streamer. And then the final team that we're going to talk about, and boy, it's going to feel bad, is the Calgary Flames. Now, the Flames technically should be the number 1 streaming target this week because they are the only team in the NHL with 4 light nights, which means you can get their players in your lineup no matter what this week. The problem is they can't score. They have been horrendous offensively. So the good news is 4 light night games. The bad news is they have averaged 1.64 goals for per 60, which is half a goal worse than the second worst team in the NHL right now. Their offense is a disaster. Then you factor in that when you look at opponent rating, I mean, it is one of the worst schedules this week. The Jets twice. Who wants to face Connor Hellebuck twice? Even if Eric Comrie gets a start. They are a good defensive team. Montreal, the New York Rangers. Like, these matchups aren't ideal. So I have a hard time really, really locking in on the Calgary Flames. That being said, they do have 4 late night games. They do have some options worth considering. So let's dive into them. We'll start with Jonathan Huberdeau, who's 37% rostered, so might not be available in your league, but he made his season debut on Saturday and wasted no time making an impact. He scored a power play goal. He registered 3 shots on goal, had 5 shot attempts, and it logged 18:48 time on ice. So could his return possibly be the spark that the Flames need in the top 6? I think it's possible because he stepped right on the top line with Kadri and Farabee, and that line was easily the Flames' best line in that game. They controlled 75% of the shot attempts against a very good Vegas team and posted a team high 0.5 expected goals for per 60 at 5-on-5. So obviously it's a small sample, but we know that Kadri and Huberdeau have really built some good chemistry over the last couple of years, specifically last year. So hopefully it's a positive sign of things to come, not only for Huberdeau, but for Kadri if you own him, and then whoever else ends up being on that top line, which right now it's Joel Farabee. Next is Matt Coronado. Coronado is like the one player, or one of the few players, I should say, that Calgary just like needs offense from, right? He needs to be scoring if this team is going to be competitive this year. And he's doing his part early on. He's got 2 goals and 1 assist so far, which, is pretty good for how little this team has scored. And it's really not for a lack of effort from Coronado. He's fired 12 shots on goal, but what's really impressive and encouraging is the 35 shot attempts. That's 5.8 shot attempts per game. That's the kind of volume that ranks inside the top 30 in the NHL right now. And kind of one of the few reliable things that you can look at this Calgary offense and be like, this is going to happen tonight. Coronado is going to shoot the puck. So I do still think like he's a player I was high on in the preseason. I do think there's long-term value here still to be unlocked. This offense is going to find its way eventually. So I think that Coronado is one of the better streaming targets from the Flames this weekend. Somebody that if he has a big week, could end up on your team for the rest of the year. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Blake Coleman. He's on this third line, and he is only viable in extended formats because he brings really, really steady category coverage and has done so for years. He's averaging 2.5 shots on goal per game, which is right in line with his career average during his time with the Flames of 2.4. He also has 2.5 hits per game so far this year. So really, really solid category coverage floor from Coleman. He's obviously shown some offensive upside before. 30 goals he scored in 2024. And like him and Michael Backlund usually are pretty good at controlling the puck and producing some offense, at least generating scoring chances. So there is potential for some offense on top of those peripheral stats that Coleman offers. It's just really tough to bank on that level of scoring right now, given what we've seen from the Flames. And then just one more player, just a deep show here on Farabee. He's on the top line. I don't really think, as I mentioned, I'm not too high in the Flames this week, even with 4 late night games. I don't think it's necessary to dive this deep into the roster, but if you're absolutely determined to get a 4-game streamer into your lineup this week in deep formats, and Huberdeau and Coronado and maybe even Coleman aren't available in your league, I think Farabee is reasonable. I mentioned that the Huberdeau, Kadri, Farabee line looked great on Saturday. If that chemistry can continue over, Farabee could pick up a couple points this week. He's averaging 1.7 shots on goal, 1.3 hits per game. It's not nothing to write home about, certainly, but at least offers you some floor. And if if he is able to pick up a couple of points this week, then he'll pay off. But I really don't think it's necessary to dive that deep. My two by far and away favorite streaming options this week are from the Buffalo Sabres. So I am going to definitely be targeting the Buffalo Sabres this week. I've already picked up Zach Benson and Josh Doan in my league of record. Those are the guys that I want to target, but I've given you a wide list of players to target as streaming options so far this week. So hopefully you get to the wire soon enough, you can pick up the top guys. But if not, I've given you plenty of fallback options. So that is going to do it for this edition of the DFO Fantasy Show. This is the Week 3 preview. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. As always, if you're just finding us, if you're just starting to tune into the DFO Fantasy Show, Monday, every week, I preview the entire week by myself, give you some of these best streaming targets to pick up. Every day, I give you Brock's Lock of the Day. Like I said, we're 2-0 to start the season. Tuesday is our Around the League segment where we bring in reporters or personalities from around the league to talk about what's happening around the NHL right now, with a little bit of a fantasy angle, of course. That's why we're here. So we try to uncover talk about some topics. Last week we talked about the Islanders and Rangers. What's going on with the Islanders defensively? Can Artemi Panarin get back going? Panarin, goal and 2 assists on Saturday. So hopefully a sign of things to come for him. Wednesday, we do Waiver Wire Wednesday with Beebs and myself. Talk about 10 pickups. We got 3 pickups that are under 30% owned, 3 pickups each, under 30% owned that we really like long term. We also give you a deep league target under 10% owned and a banger league target as well. And then Thursday is the weekend streaming schedule. So we take a look at the weekend. We find the best streaming targets for the weekend this week. Nick Schmaltz was just insane. Probably one of your week, as I mentioned earlier. So we go through that every Thursday as well. So make sure you're tuning in. Smash the subscribe button. Hit the like button to help us keep growing this channel. And just make sure you never miss a thing and tune in to the DFO Fantasy Show every single day. Thanks for watching this video. If you want more great fantasy hockey and betting content from myself, Carter Hutton, Matthew Barnaby, and the rest of the DFO analysts, make sure you subscribe to the DFO Fantasy and Betting YouTube channel today and never miss a minute.